Welcome to the 12th episode of the Universal Podcast, where psychology intersects with other subjects. In this episode, we'll be working with psychology and students, and we'll have on a bunch of students from Brooklyn Tech, one of the most prestigious high schools across the United States and number one in Brooklyn. Our first guest is Luca Granelli. Luca, welcome.
Thank you for having me, Samuel.
It's so interesting hearing you say Samuel. I've thought of so many other things about this, but not that I would be Samuel instead of Mr. Arman anymore.
Yeah, it kind of just slipped out. I don't know. I wasn't really sure.
No, I love it. I love it. We're keeping this in it. I want to know you're one of the first high school classes to endure COVID. So let's start at the very beginning. Coming into Brooklyn Tech, a school with about 6,100 students, what was going through your mind? What were the sort of the thoughts that you had, and what was the experience like in those first days?
Well, my experience might be a little different than a lot of the students because my my middle school was just tiny. I believe my graduating class was maybe less than 100, where my graduating class just now was 1,600. So I think my biggest fear was not being able to find a community. It's interesting. As you were saying that and now reflecting upon it, I don't think I ever was afraid of anything academically. I was the salutatorian of my middle school, so I guess I came in like, oh yeah, this will be easy, which it wasn't.
And was it easy?
Easier than I thought it would be.
Amazing.
But people had always warned me like, oh, it's big, it's big, it's big, it's difficult to like make a community. And I need like a group around me in order to, I feel like, to do my best to be comfortable. So immediately, like, the first thing I did is I was like, okay, I just need to break this down into groups. I think I approached it very logically for a freshman. I was like, okay, clubs start a month because of all the organization. Clubs start, like a month after the first day of school, which is just horrifically impractical for making friends. So I joined a sports team, which is the only student organization which starts on the first day of school. And then again, I just like looked real hard at my athletic abilities, which were non-existent. So I was like, oh, what's something that I could get on with no experience and would probably not make me run laps or do morning practice? So I joined the bowling team, which then that was kind of, I guess, my biggest fear coming out of COVID. Then that was how I approached it.
So 3-4 years after joining that club, are you still friendly or amiable with some of those people from the bowling team?
Ironically, not really. Mm-hmm. I joined it for friends, and it completely did that for like having friendly faces to like look for in the hallway that I could like, and it's so kind of minor and I guess like boyish, but like having someone that you could like dap up in the hallway and you make a loud sound and you all go, ooh, yeah. When you're just a little freshman and it's the sea of everyone, it made school like actually something I wanted to go to. And I wanted to go to school so I could go to practice afterwards. And I think through all my life, that's been my strength, is that I've actually wanted to go.
So besides maybe not sticking around with the students on the bowling team, let me ask you. You were in my class as an AP Lang student, and that's an 11th grade class, of course. And as far as I can understand, from the beginning of the year to the end of the year, the thing that really developed that I could see was that obviously there's an immense intelligence in your writing, but there was a sense of like controlling it and sort of mastering it and making sure that when you're sort of digressing that you can justify it very cleanly. And that seemed, you seemed like you could still kind of go distantly, but over time you were able to connect things more efficiently. And that was fascinating to see, of course. I mean, I knew it was going to, or I believed it was going to happen. Besides that I know from my experience with you, what would you say are some of like the biggest sort of developments from freshie Luca to now graduating senior Luca?
I would say a trend through all Luca's has just been that as the older I get, the less I care about things that I don't care about. Like as a freshman, I came in, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I had some ideas, but I always needed, and this is still with me, this is how I work. I need an end goal to approach. It doesn't matter if it's 20 years in the future or whatever. I need what I'm doing to be a part of some bigger picture. That's how I always survived at tech, is that there was just something else to look to. And so that picture was, I think, a lot more like, oh, I have to do good in this, I have to do good in this. Whereas in the senior year, I mean, there was senioritis, but there was also definitely a lot more of selecting like the things I like, and those are the things I really care about and I want to do good in. And I'm like tenacious and trying and learning in those. Whereas like in freshman year, I just had this horrific geometry teacher, awful, but I tried so hard in that class and I could just never crack it. Which was then, I was always, I was so good at math in middle school. And the second it switched out of like basic algebra, and with her style of explanation, I just couldn't figure it out. And I think it was in that point that I learned, in that class, that I was like, okay, like, you don't actually need to understand everything 100%. You just need to know that it works. You don't need to know why it works. So that was the end of freshman year. And since that point, I've just kind of continued building that, like, the things I want to know, and I will know them under any circumstance.
So would you say that one of the biggest developments that you've sort of absorbed and honed in on over those 4 years was essentially like mastering your own sense of prioritization?
Yeah, almost. And like, I think you could apply this to writing too. Like how you said I got more concise, which thank you for saying that. I don't think I noticed. It just happened because you're such a good teacher. But
you don't have to. You don't have to say
don't
that.
have to glaze.
No,
I've
that's great though.
I felt like I'll always have all these ideas, and then I think intellectual maturity for me is just like culling the herd. Because I am at least a little fascinated in every subject, but like that doesn't get me anywhere. Like just in an AP Lang essay where I have to do, 5 pieces of evidence?
It depends on which essay.
I would want to do just get them in there and then explain them each separately, as opposed to just taking a step back. And the through line became what was important to me.
Many different types of students have had, and brilliant students have had extreme difficulties. I've had students who have had to take weeks off, a month off, and this isn't just this year, many years. And I guess my question is, what are some of the strategies you've sort of developed for maintaining resilience in a school like this? Is it the prioritization primarily, or are there other sort of strategies that kind of helped you?
I'm kind of brutal. And this is, I think, why I dived into tech somewhat successfully, is that, like, I just really want to win. Like, I suck at sports, as I've mentioned, by the 13th and the 12-man bowling team. But if I, like, in my gym class, like, I have no business guarding someone as hard as I do in basketball. Because I hate basketball. I don't enjoy playing it. But, like, the second it happens, it just starts. I have to try my hardest. And if that isn't enough, then so be it. But I think that's been my guiding light, I guess. That, like, I know that if something goes wrong and I don't succeed in something, it isn't going to be because I didn't try. There would be some extenuating circumstance around it. And I think I just kept telling myself that like, I would see someone do better than me in a class or knew more than me in a certain subject, and I'd want to then know as much as them, at least. And there's always, in our school, there's always someone smarter than you.
Right. That makes sense. So if I mix that with some of the other things you've said, it's not just about prioritizing, but rather essentially mastering what you can control, what you can influence, and what you can't control, and sort of accepting what you can't control. If you give it, and pardon if I've reduced this to like a Disney-ish tautology, but if you kind of give it your all and you lose, you know that you've lost giving it your all. You don't feel this sort of whatever, almost like the inversion of buyer's remorse. You feel like you've put in so much energy and you've gone 100%, and in that capacity, you've lost giving it your all, and that feels better than you've made some decisions. You were a little bit lazy, and that's more of like a long-term loss. That feels like it's a flaw in your personality.
And then applying the prioritization to that as I've matured, I've realized more and more that, like, what's the point in giving my half-assed all to everything because I'm tired when I can give 120, 130% to, like, the 2 subjects or 3 subjects that speak to me.
Still doing what you need to do for the others, of course. But
yeah, but
to
it doesn't
put that
matter.
extra effort into putting that extra effort into the courses in which you really want to sort of master, you want to be exceptional in these courses.
Or not even courses. Like, I got really into photography over the summer last year after I finished your class. And I went from picking up a camera to art directing a fashion shoot for a decently large online e-commerce company.
Feel free to shout it out.
Hip Hop Closet. It's been around since like '96. It's pretty cool. I'm doing a shoot for them this summer too. That, like, I went from doing that in like a month maybe. So this year I've probably one of the things in my senior that I gave my all was learning and continuing to learn about photography. Like, I started developing my own film, everything.
What are you thinking about in the future? What are your anticipations? What are sort of your expectations, your projects, your goals, your aims?
I feel a lot of people strive towards a goal of being something, whereas that's not necessarily what I work for. And that's like why I want to do industrial design. Is like, I know I like making things, and industrial design seemed like the best path to get there. But basically, I want to be in a position where I can make whatever I want. Like, I had a woodshop class this year that was completely transformative for me because I realized how much I love or prefer working with my hands to, like, hand drawing, which I really struggle with. And I realize I'm very pragmatic. I feel decently pragmatic. Like, I don't want to just go to art school because I feel like that isn't the simplest path to having a career and then becoming more known that way. That would be how I would prefer to do it. But I really, like, I enjoy making tables. I love, like, designing and drawing and then building tables, bookshelves, furniture. But also, you can see behind me, I do, like, some sculpture stuff. I like the differences between things. I like photography. But I also, as I said in, like, the DBQ, I like the connections between all those things. And industrial design captured that really nicely for me. So that would be, I don't really know where I'll be. I could be, or go 100% on photography, or I could go 100% on, like, or I could live in the Colorado mountains and just be like a furniture monk for the rest of my life. I don't really, it's not like a monetary or a career thing or anything. I just want to be in a position where I have the freedom to go where my mind takes me.
If you pursue that route and you end up making some sort of, gallery or a book or anything, please call it the Furniture Monk.
Furniture monk.
I love
it. I think I've been, my family is Buddhist, so that's also part of the cocktail of how I think about things. That it's very like, it'll just happen. And I have to work for it.
As long as you
happen,
give
but
effort. You have to be effortful, right?
Yeah, you can't just, I disagree strongly with people who believe the universe will just throw things out for them. You got to grab it, but I think I'll figure something out.
Totally. So last question now. Do you have any advice for, I guess, incoming high schoolers, or I guess anyone who is anywhere in their high school experience who, I don't know, maybe is undecided, is unsure, is artistic and not really sure how to craft it or what to do with it, or worrying if they can monetize it, because I know many artists have that sort of that hesitancy to pursue the arts in a headstrong way. So any guidance or advice that you can think of, in honestly anything that you can think of?
I would say, and I'm definitely saying this from a privileged position where it worked for me, which it doesn't for everyone, and I'm lucky for that. But just do what you want. Like, I'll give an example of I took AP Studio Art this year, and as I've mentioned, I've never taken an art class. I hate hand drawing. I don't like painting. I don't like basically most of what that class is about. It's AP Studio Art 2D. So they made that class with the intention of submitting a drawing portfolio to the College Board at the end of the year. And I just didn't. A lot of my pieces were 3D that I just submitted as 2D because I think the distinction is meaningless. Or there's this one piece in particular that I think shows that I laser engraved a can of Spam onto the cover of a Christian Science hymnal. I don't know why. There's no symbolism, there's nothing. It's just I wanted to do it, so I did it. And that was one of my higher marked projects. But besides the marks, like, I was really happy with how it came out. I tell that story of that piece a lot. It would have been included in my portfolio had it been done in time. Like, just do it. If you have an idea, no matter how you're afraid it will be perceived by others. Because also I was doing all this to just the complete derision of my friends in that class who were all like super competent painters, and none of them understood what I was doing. And we're all also kind of mad that I got better grades than all of them in that class, even though I never picked up a pencil. I don't think I drew something in pencil once in that whole class. Mm-hmm. But just like, screw them. Like, you have to do what you want to do. Like, I left geometry, which just whooped me, and I can't express how big of an impact that class had on me. I was like, this isn't my path, so I'm not gonna care. This isn't for me. If you really if math is for you, then do math. That's awesome. Like, I'm jealous. If physics is for you, then do physics. I'm jealous. Like, if you want, there you go. If you want to write, but you're never going to be happy if you're doing something you don't care about. Even if you get
master, if you get really good at it, yeah.
Even if you get hundreds in everything and whatever, like, if you're not doing at least one thing that you really care about, then everything else becomes meaningless. That would be what I would say. So you can still do all the other stuff that you don't care about, but at least have one thing that you can be like, you know what? It doesn't matter if I fail a geometry test or if I fail a rhetorical essay practice or something. At least there's this thing that I love.
Well, you really did earn the nickname Laid Back Luke.
Yeah, I try.
Luca, this has been great. Any sort of parting words?
I just have one question. I don't know if this will make it into the podcast, but so I was dubbed Laid Back Luke in your class, even though I feel like, especially from that first day when you had the arrange yourselves by, was it age?
I believe so, yeah.
I think it was by age was the first day, icebreaker. And I stood up in the corner, which I had never done before. I was never this kid, but I stood up and just orchestrated everyone. I was just tired of waiting for it to be done.
Yep.
And I think you called me Laid Back Luke on that day, if not very short after. Why?
Some people, when they are doing any sort of behavior or anything that would get them noticed, especially the first time, they'll shy away from it. Even if they're not particularly risk averse, they to be suddenly seen by so many people in a new environment, and though you were a junior, it was a new environment. It was my classroom. Like, I was new to you. I think that requires a certain sense of I don't want to say not caring what other people think, because that's not exactly what it is, but rather not allowing the immediate perceptions of strangers to change the orbit of what you want to do to get something done. I was like, that requires a certain sense of letting go.
All right. So a different sense of laid back then. Interesting.
Yeah. Also, a DJ.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, a DJ. So
There you
that
go.
was kind of primed in my mind anyway.
Oh, yeah.
know.
You're already ready.
Yeah,
All right. Well, thank you.
absolutely. And thank you. And I really hope you keep me posted with any sort of big projects you have. And I'd love to share it with other people, especially the techies throughout the years.
For sure. I'll send you something.
How do we find that I guess organization? How do we find it on social media?
It's Hip Hop Closet on social media.
Awesome.
On Instagram, at everything, I think.
Okay.
And
Cool.
you'll see my stuff when it gets there.
Love it. Love it.
Wonderful. All right. Thank you, sir.
Our next guest is Susana Sharp, who committed to Brown University and is studying engineering. Welcome, Susana.
Hi, thank you for having me.
My first question for you is the same as the one for everyone, which is what essentially went through your mind as you were sort of enduring COVID and all the other, I guess, difficulties that it came with as you were finishing up middle school and entering a hyper-competitive high school like Brooklyn Tech?
Well, I think during eighth grade, I wasn't even that aware of how much I was like giving into the lazy aspects that you can have during the pandemic. And I feel like I was not exercising at all or taking care of myself. And I think that the person who really noticed that was my dad. And instead of like making me stress about it or like telling me to like get out of my room, he would come upstairs and give me like a smoothie, and like it just really brightened my day. And I think that it definitely took a toll on him to be everybody in my family's rock, but it was really crucial for me like getting through the pandemic, having my dad like watching out for me, because it like everything was moving so fast. There wasn't really time to be like, wow, this is like so different. And then I think towards the end of eighth grade, I got a lot more active in my school's community. I was part of this thing called Class 800, and we would like organize different like events for people. The thing that I spearheaded was a talent show on Zoom, and me and my friends were super into like learning like ukulele and all the classic things everybody learned during the pandemic.
Oh my God! Wait, can you still play the ukulele?
Like some chords. I actually haven't picked it up. I never really learned how to tune it, and my tuner is broken, so it would take me a minute to get back into it. But it was really fun.
That helped you survive through such a mixture of boring and terrifying and all these things.
Yeah.
It was something to occupy your time,
Like,
positively.
I wasn't the most active student. When I was interested in a class, I would participate, but because the pandemic lets you slip so much, I'd be like waking up at my class start time and like not get ready for the day till my lunchtime. But then it was a big change going from completely online during my eighth grade to completely in person ninth grade. And I think socially, the masks were a huge thing in like stupid ways, like people like being like, oh my God, like I wonder if that person's a mask fish, or like things that kind of became a little bit stressful for people. And like it definitely allowed people to
Wait,
like,
what is?
okay,
What
maybe
is-
you didn't know about. So
No. Is it basically a catfish,
Yeah.
but like under here is not?
So it was like there were some things that I think the masks and the everybody being separated from each other, like it allowed people to be less desensitized to their own insecurities. And I feel like people became like a really comfortable behind masks. And I think it was hard to transition out of that towards the end of the year. I remember when they lifted the mask mandate, it was like maybe May or something of my freshman year. In my first 5 classes, I was the only person who didn't have a mask on. And this was, I was the girl in middle school who the only time I hung out with my friends was in the park, on picnic blankets, 6 feet apart, with masks on. Like, I was never one to live dangerously, but
Yeah.
when they said like you can take the masks off, I was like, okay, I will. And then I feel like at such a big school with so many like classes with like you're not seeing the same people in every class, you're not comfortable with everyone. There was like so few people who took off their masks.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a study done basically. Well, I mean, one of the most interesting things about like facial expressions, obviously, like the lower half of your face has a huge part in, is that we sometimes we imitate each other. So when someone smiles, we smile almost in small ways, and like modern neuroscience will tell you that there's part of our understanding of what other people are going through is these micro expressions. So when you smile to me, I smile a little bit, and my smile is telling me what your smile might mean. And one of the ways that we know this is when people get Botox, which on their face, which obviously kills, or not kills, but makes the muscles inactive for whatever region it is. They actually are less capable immediately after Botox. They're less capable at predicting other people's emotions by looking at their faces because they can't imitate the expressions. So
Wow.
it's actually, yeah. So, I mean, there's a million other things that we can talk about regarding masks and even the 6 feet apart, how it created, people talk about the slipping of like the academia with COVID, and you were saying like everything was it was just so easy to skate by, doing the bare minimum. But what people don't really talk about enough is like the emotional ramifications of just not socializing, looking
Yeah.
at everyone through a screen, it's very interesting.
And I was in like thinking about coming onto this podcast, I was thinking about what it would be like if I was in high school when it was the most shut down. And I think that my here's another Gen Z word, FOMO, would go crazy because at my middle school it was a super nerdy school. Like it was separated into different like academies, and I was called the Scientific Research Academy. It was like way like it was a public school, but it was way fancier than it needed to be. And nobody at that
Sounds
school,
familiar.
yeah, this is like Brooklyn Tech. Nobody at that school was going to parties or creating huge pods. And I know that like if there,
There weren't big math parties.
no, not quite, or like
The
research
dividers.
parties. I know that like if that happened at Tech, like I could picture seeing from afar like this, like people breaking rules that I wouldn't be comfortable with and experience things that I wouldn't get to experience. And I think that that would be way harder than the way I had it in middle school. And I'm sure some people at different middle schools had that experience where maybe they felt uncomfortable because they were like breaking rules in order to socialize with other people, or they weren't allowed to, or they weren't invited. And I think that being separated but still like seeing what your life like was supposed to be like in the movies is really hard.
Yeah, because it just reminds you of what you're missing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So besides that, I mean, at least in my class, and from what I know of you, you're no longer someone who I would categorize in any way as lazy. I mean, I have. You remember your very first assignment in my class?
I think it was an essay, right?
Very close. It was a letter that you were writing introducing
Oh,
yourself. You
yes.
probably don't even categorize it as an assignment because it wasn't like everything else. And I still have one of it was the last sentence of the second paragraph, and I read it and I was like, this is such a gangster sentence, and I wonder like how much she actually embodies this, which seems to be a lot. And it was, how you do anything is how you do everything. And
Yeah, my
I
coach told
loved
me
it.
that.
Loved it. Loved it. I was like, this is absolutely a gangster quote. This is something that, you know, like it speaks really to discipline. It speaks to the idea that discipline in X has what in psychology we call transfer effects, yields discipline for Y, Z, A, B, C, D, E, etc. And the whole idea is just that like discipline is not something that's, I'm very disciplined with mathematics, but not with science, or I'm disciplined with exercising, but not with my taxes. It's like, no, discipline is actually like a zoomed out, overarching umbrella. And of course, some things are harder to do than others, but discipline is doing the thing that's hard to do. So do you feel like you, as someone who's who is both on like the math team, you're absolutely like a track all-star and all of that, do you feel like you were able to embody that idea of kind of making sure that the things you do are of the highest quality that you can?
I think that, yeah, I almost,
And if I can add, and do you think that was developing over your 4-year tenure at Brooklyn Tech?
I think that the eagerness to put everything into everything I'm presented with was always there, but the ability to manage my time definitely developed over the 4 years of like in middle school. I had the opportunity to be on a club soccer team, but I was like, practicing on the weekdays, I just want to play games on the weekend and then just like hang out with my friends on the weekdays. Or I had played like D&D and different things after school, and then I jumped into practicing like 6 days a week, or like practicing 5 days a week and having a race. And that just like, I think it pushed that ambition I had into like having to actually come true if I wanted to survive Brooklyn Tech. And I think that overall I'm not successful at everything, but I'm proud of the effort I put into everything. And the biggest thing that I need to work on now, going into college especially, is just like holding myself accountable at home and keeping my room clean. And that's really like, over the 4 years, it's been like, 8 to 3 in school, and then 3 to 6 at practice, and like then homework, and then my room's just like sitting there with like clothes on the floor. And I feel like that's like the part of everything that I'm missing out on right now. And yeah, it's also one of those things that like, my dad will keep an eye on me and tell me like even when I don't realize, like he's like, oh well, maybe you should spend an hour in your room this weekend. That type of thing.
It seems like one of the many reasons, or one of the many, I guess, influences or factors behind your, I'm going to use the word success because I see you as a success, as a continuous success, by the way. Success to me is something that isn't like a finish line, but rather an avenue that you have to labor to stay on. But anyway, that's a separate thing.
That's cool.
Yeah. It seems pretty apparent that your father is one of the influences that kept you sort of, we'll say, level-headed and resilient. What are some of the other factors that kept you like grounded, but also like continuously motivated? And was it like intrinsic things inside that you had to tell yourself, or were there like extrinsic forces that really pushed you forward?
Well, I do want to shout out my mom just to keep things even. She is a super human, like, workforce. Like, she doesn't procrastinate, and that's something that I haven't seen in like any other person I've ever met and like known them personally.
Shout out to Mama Sharp.
Yeah, like she just like has a task, works on it right away, and seeing that as my role model my whole life, I definitely had to accept that maybe my brain doesn't always work like that, but it's really inspiring. And also, like, I was thinking about my mom the other day, and like she doesn't really wear makeup, and some people, like, maybe everyone that they see who's an adult wears makeup, so they think they like at some point have to wear makeup. And I do wear makeup, but I know that like I don't need to, and it's not like something where it's like I don't feel comfortable when I don't have it on. And that's just like something that I guess that's not a super like outward way to define success, but I think things like that I can look up to my mom for really keep me like comfortable in myself.
Like a confidence in you being you without having to sort of decorate or ornament. And it's nothing against, it seems like it's nothing against makeup
Yeah,
or anything
yeah.
of that sort, but rather just the idea of feeling you need to wear it. Like people want, if they want to wear it, they want to wear it. And there's a confidence in wanting to wear something and wearing it.
Yeah.
And same with not wanting to wear it and then not wearing it. Those are equivalent in that you're doing what you feel you want to do.
Most days I want to wear makeup, and I do. But
Me
then,
too, but everyone laughs at me.
I'm sorry about that. But
Yeah.
then,
It's okay. I've been told facial hair is a man's version of contouring. I was like, okay.
yeah, I can see that. That's my brother definitely does that. So, yeah, so I think my family, just everyone in my family being a go-getter is super motivating to me. And definitely my coach. I haven't had the same coach all 4 years, but to speak to, well, okay, nothing against my freshman year coach. He was also amazing, and he motivated in his own way of like giving you a high five like once in a blue moon, and like sometimes we'd battle out for some, I mean, like not against each other, but just like push ourselves really hard in order to get some like praise from that coach. And I think that was one way of doing it. But my current coach, he will have like super long conversations with me, no matter if my race was good or my race was bad. And he sees that like praise and also telling me where I could do better. They're equally important. And it's like a push and pull. Like he gives me both kinds of feedback, and I think that that's really healthy. And it makes me want to shoot towards hearing the good feedback and making him proud. And in my yearbook quote, he said, "Thanks for making me look good," because me and my teammates this year like won the city championship, and then all
Yeah.
the other gym teachers were like congratulating him for like a month. So really
That's
just
amazing.
like having
Do you want to shout him out?
oh,
Do you want to
Coach
shout
Pratt.
him out?
Well, I actually don't know his like Instagram, but Coach Pratt from Brooklyn Tech.
That's okay.
It's good I don't know his Instagram.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, shout out to Coach Pratt for being the way he is and for, motivating in his way for motivating his track stars.
I think that the most satisfying thing is extrinsic motivation, but the like the spark in getting anything done, I think it has to start intrinsically, because nobody's really going to pay attention to you until you're putting in the effort to push towards something. So I think that intrinsic motivation has been like the most crucial thing for just like working hard. And like I used to I don't really like share my grades or test scores with my friends because I don't like hearing about other people's grades or test scores, but just like keeping little like goals for myself, like not having any missing assignments, and like trying to make good habits my routine, and just like not really sharing that with anyone. Like my parents don't really keep track of my grades. Like it's kind of just all for me, and it's very like, and then in the end when there's a nice result, like I tell my parents my GPA and they're like, "Oh, great. We had no idea." It's like that's like really like the reward, but I think the process is all intrinsic.
What do you tell yourself like to keep moving forward? Is it like a something that could be boiled down into words? Because sometimes it's not.
It's like a confidence, but not like a stable confidence, like I'm better than everyone. It's more like I'm able to do this, and like if I didn't do it, it's not because I'm not able to do it, it's because I didn't try. So it's not like like this comes easy to me, I have to be hitting these standards, but it's like I know I can do this, so if I don't do it, like what am I doing with my time, like
Right.
there's lots of times where you can slack off, and if you choose them right, like during the pandemic, it won't affect anything. But
Right.
if you like work hard when at the during the stretches of time when you have to work hard, it's really feels so much better to slack off. And I had a job during the school year, so I'm not working or doing anything this summer, and I'm so excited.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. And again, you've earned that freedom, but you want to make sure. Some people, they thrive when they have no time, and it seems like you're one of those people. So you got to make sure that in your freedom you maintain discipline and whatever it is, or maybe you very pragmatically, strategically, relax. Just like you can't run a race every single, well, maybe you can, but not everyone can run a race every single day or lift weights or like the same exercise. They have to let one group of muscles heal. Same thing with this. Maybe this is a very well-designed sort of rejuvenation period before the marathon that is college.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, so Brown, little known university, like older than the United States. It was because it's 1764 and the United States was, I guess, officiated in 1776. It is the seventh oldest school. And one of the interesting things about Brown is the sort of you kind of choose your own curriculum. It kind of emphasizes being multidisciplinary, and you are multidisciplinary. So I want to ask you, one, why Brown, but kind of overarchingly, what are you sort of anticipating for the near future? What how do you see your future coming up, and what do you see sort of on the horizon, and what are you looking forward to?
Well, for why Brown, I think my choice boiled down to Brown and Vanderbilt, just because I knew I got into the School of Engineering, and I'm not trying to like completely shut myself off to engineering, but right now it's like something I could imagine myself really enjoying and getting into. So I knew that Vanderbilt had really good engineering, and I had to research Brown's a little bit more. And I was so pleasantly surprised with just how much they've put into their engineering program over the past few years, and like renovating the building. And they have lots of cool clubs. Like I know a lot of schools compete in like their like an F1 style competition, and like at Brown, since it's in Rhode Island, there's this called Road Rage. So I would love to, like, I know nothing about F1 except for some of my friends who like watching it, but I would love to join a club like that. And there's just like, there's so much going on at a campus where like everyone has the time to pick different classes and design their own curriculum. And it is a little bit more demanding for the engineering majors, because it's like all the engineering degrees are like standardized across different schools. So it's like an ABET accredited thing. So there is a little bit less freedom in the schedule, since most majors it's like 10 classes towards your major and then 20 classes to whatever you want, like whatever you want. And for me, it's more like
That's
20
awesome.
classes for my major and 10 classes for whatever I want, which I'm still super thankful for.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, it gives you freedom to sort of design something that would be genuinely like multidisciplinary, to make you, not to use a word that they always use, but like well-rounded, genuinely.
Yeah. And also, coming from a big school like Tech, I'm happy to have that experience, but I want a more like intimate, smaller college experience. And if I was at a school where almost everyone went there or went into this program looking for engineering, and like I'm surrounded by like a cohort of like 1,000 engineers, I feel like it's not as connected as being at a school where my cohort is 1,000 people, or a little more than that, but my like cohort of engineers is like 80 people. I think that's pretty manageable.
I think cohort should be a word, by the way. I like that.
Yeah.
I think you just coined something accidentally. Uh, yeah, I mean, well, what was it? It's about 7,000 students, a
Hmm.
little over seven
Yeah.
thousand students. Yeah, I mean that's basically Brooklyn Tech. Brooklyn Tech 6,100 students. So it's. I mean, it might be a bit familiar
Yeah.
in that regard. Well, that's cool. So what about more overarchingly? Like, what are you looking forward to in the future?
I think that track has taught me a lot and built me into the person I am. But I think I'm going to step away from it at the competitive level. Start with club, maybe try out for varsity if I have that itch to like be super competitive. But like club track and balancing that with like joining different multicultural groups at Brown because I I am like a mix of so many different things and most people don't
Hmm.
know. So I would love to like join these different groups and really feel a part of it because I feel like I haven't had time to in high school and I haven't had as much of a space as there is at college for like there's really a lot like so many different niche culture groups and clubs and I want to engage more like instead of putting everything into mostly one commitment. I think I want to have a really like trying out lots of different things type of freshman year and hopefully maintaining a bunch of them throughout the 4 years.
That's very smart. I mean, you're looking at the this now this is super intrinsic, but like the parts of you and saying, "Hey, I wonder if these like identity markers are represented at at this college, and if I can join other people who are, let's say, this group or that group, you know, will I learn more about myself and about my culture, and sort of in turn even your family."
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's an awesome idea.
Yeah,
And I believe it was part of your college essay too. Sort of
yeah,
reverberated that idea that you know you have a pretty complex ethnic and cultural background, and it's the complexity doesn't bother you. It's something that you are excited to foreground.
I think that being as mixed race as I am and not being as immediately accepted into everything that I am because I don't necessarily look like it. I think
Mhm.
it's going to become more common just because I feel like the world can't move towards more homogenous. It can only move towards more diversity. And I think that it's really interesting to think that my experience it might become more common and I think there should be more spaces for people who like aren't necessarily initially um, accepted or look like the rest of their family. And I'm excited to hopefully find something like that at Brown. I know that there's a club specifically for mixed race people, which my dad went to Brown and he was one of the founding members of that club because he's also
Oh,
mixed.
that's
That's why
amazing.
I'm so
That's
mixed.
amazing. Yeah.
But
If you're comfortable saying it on camera, what is the breakdown? Because I can't remember. I can remember like sentences of like your essays and stuff, but I can't remember that.
so my dad is black and Chinese, and it's like a my like African American side has been in America for so many generations. It's not I'm not a quarter African. I'm a quarter African American, and I think that really defines some of my family's experiences. And it's a perspective that I've always really like valued from my grandfather and like learned about growing up. And I think that that's why I feel more connected to that heritage than people see me as. And then on my mom's side, I'm a quarter Irish and I'm a eighth Swedish and an eighth Canadian. But my grandma likes to say that we're French Canadian, and or well, we're French Canadian. She likes to say that we're French, and I'm like,
Huh.
oh no, we're Canadian. But she loves to embrace her French culture, which is very very sweet. Um,
I still think that the idea of a multi ethnic club is so interesting because you're going to, at the very least, you're going to be meeting so many people who are sort of a collage of cultures and experiences. So I feel like what a fantastic way to be increasingly open-minded and sort of receptive to different insert anything that culture would be a part of: music, food, like styles of artwork, literature, anything. I think that, I mean, that's going to be hopefully a really, really cool experience.
Yeah. And I feel like just dedicating time to things that I've always wanted to do is super exciting to me. Like with being a part of a sport, even though people don't find track a team sport, it really is when you're trying to win championships. And everything that I'm doing to train is like to perform well in this sport. Whereas now that I don't have that pressure on me, which I appreciated the experience, I appreciated the pressure, but it is nice to have that come to a close. And now this summer I can just lift weights and do things like for my own personal goals, not for my performance or my team goals. And I don't have to, I can compete at whatever level I want to in college. I can put time towards things I've always looked to do and haven't dedicated the time for yet. So I feel very like lucky that I get to go to a school that I've been in love with since I was a kid, and that I have this like freedom and so many opportunities in front of me.
Okay, well, here's to getting jacked.
Yeah.
I guess my last question is: do you have any guidance or advice to any like incoming high schoolers, or it could be, I guess, anyone who's anywhere in the tenure of being a high school student? Do you have any advice? Because again, you're on the successful path, very much so, and you just, ripped through one finish line. So just to use, some track, I guess, expressions. So yeah, so do you have any advice or guidance that you would like to offer to high schoolers today?
How you do anything is how you do everything. No, I think that
Was that Coach Pratt?
well, I don't think it was his quote, but I did hear it from him, and it stayed with me.
Okay.
And he was talking about how you should put effort into like injury prevention things and stretching and the little things, because if you're not doing that, then you can't perform in all the big ways.
Very smart.
Yeah. So what I would say is commit to something or many things, and I would say join a sport, but not everybody enjoys that. If you're not getting enjoyment from it, you're not going to be able to commit to it. So commit to something, and really like follow your enjoyment, and hopefully you can push yourself to like follow the enjoyment means like something involved with your school, something engaging, maybe a little academic or a little competitive, not necessarily at home by yourself, but like, because we have the opportunity to be not at home by ourselves anymore.
Yeah.
And some college specific advice might be read example essays as Mr. Armin had us do in junior year. If you have the opportunity to start before junior year, do that. It'll give you the idea of what this big scary college essay is supposed to be, and how it's not that much to tackle if you give yourself time. And really let your passions show when you're trying to communicate them in supplements.
Awesome. Susana, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you for having me. I can't wait to hear it.
Absolutely. Our next guest is Grace Chen, who is going to be studying political science at Fordham University, a college that I attended for my second master's, studying clinical research methods in psychology. Grace, welcome.
Hi, thank you.
So let's start from the very beginning. Back when you were a little Grace, entering Brooklyn Tech. So your middle school experience and the beginning of your high school experience were marred by COVID. I want to know essentially what was going through your mind as you were enduring the pandemic, and how did you kind of keep yourself like not insane during that period?
Honestly, I think I remember a lot. I don't remember like that much of like what it was like transitioning back in person like during middle school because I ended up spending the rest of my middle school experience online after March 2020. So I feel like that big gap in which like me turning 13 and becoming a teenager and it being marred by COVID, it really impacted how I saw the world like after it because I feel like in a sense like when I went back to school in person in ninth grade, I was really like scared socially because I didn't know how much of my social skills had been impacted by COVID and just in general, like people wearing masks, like it was definitely harder to make connections. But I feel like something that really helped just in general was like seeing an end goal, maybe towards maybe it helped more towards the end of middle school, but seeing the end goal of like, oh, like you can work towards getting into an SHSAT school and there'll be people like you. So that definitely helped. And just like going to a bigger high school, I feel like there was always a community that I could surround myself with because of like the sheer population of tech.
Right. I mean, 6,100 students is not a common high school
Mhm.
experience at all. Yeah. So speaking about the social experiences, Susana taught me a word. It's mask fishing. Have
Oh
you heard of this
yes,
before?
yes. I was mass fished by so many people. I'm sorry. Like if anyone
It's-
from tech is seeing this, it's not that you're ugly. I just didn't expect you to look like that.
so that's what it is. It's just that your sort of your estimations of what the bottom half of someone's
Yes,
face is going to
absolutely.
look like is
Hmm.
incorrect. Interesting. Okay, so the second question that I have for you is, how do you think you've developed since day one, entering as a little freshie, to now as someone who has graduated from Brooklyn Tech?
I think when I first came into Brooklyn Tech, I really underestimated just the sheer competitiveness of the academic environment. Because when I was in middle school, I was in an honors program. And even though I was in an honors program with people, like with peers that were on my academic level, I still felt like I was out of place because there were a lot of things that I understood, but my peers didn't. And that's not to like look down on my peers. I just feel like academically I wasn't challenged enough in such a small middle school because we only had like 5 or 6 classes out of like 20 something in my middle school, which were dedicated honors classes. But there wasn't any like specific criteria you needed to be in these honors classes. You just had to perform well. So I feel like I wasn't really challenged in middle school. But when I entered high school, like that big transition where everybody is as intelligent or is as capable as you, it really made it more difficult to
And
just like
hardworking,
transition.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really made it more difficult to transition into high school because it really like it was really I feel like a lot of my peers have said this, but like you don't realize that like you're really that intelligent. Or, like you don't realize how what's the term for this? Like you don't realize that there are people like you or people smarter than you when you come from such a small community and then you transition into tech where everybody is like extraordinary. So the extraordinary becomes common. And one, I feel like it pushed me to work harder because it definitely challenged me. But two, I feel like there was a sense of imposter syndrome because you're in this environment where everybody is so smart, everybody is so capable, everybody's so hardworking. But I think because I was in for such a shock towards the start of my life, like towards the start of my academic career in high school, I'll be less in for a shock when I transition into university and just higher education in general because I've already accepted this as like I'm not like the most maybe I am intelligent, but there will always be more people more intelligent than me.
Well, I mean, it depends on how you categorize it because there's so many different types of intelligence. I mean, Howard Gardner listed the multiple intelligences theory, where there's kinesthetic spatial intelligence. There's my two favorite, or the ones that I really appreciate that he distinguished, is interpersonal intelligence, how well you understand other people, your sort of your social intelligence, and then intrapersonal intelligence, how well you understand yourself. Like some people who are like hotheads, they often have a low intrapersonal intelligence because they can't diffuse the anger as it's rising, and they're almost a victim to their own emotions.
Mm,
Whereas some people can be like, "Oh wow, I'm getting upset. I gotta step back before I do something stupid, something that I'll
mm,
regret very quickly." Um, you know, I had some estimations about you from your introductory letter because I've now taught over 1,000 students. This year would be basically my 1,000th plus student.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And I sometimes people in their introductory letters, the very first assignment that I give, they say interesting things, they say weird things. Do you remember how you opened up your letter?
It might have been something about broccoli. I'm not sure.
It's crazy that you remember it. I love it. Yeah, you said broccoli is my favorite vegetable. Argue with a wall if you disagree. And I was like, oh wow, okay. This is going to be an interesting student, and I'm happy to say that I was right. You have I would argue, a benevolent aggression. You have a super determined, like accelerating force to you, and I very much appreciate that. As long as you can contain it and you understand the potential misinterpretations that can happen with some other people who don't have open as open of a mind, I guess, as some of your teachers. So from that first point where you entered Brooklyn Tech and feeling kind of like, okay, well, this is a hyper competitive environment, to essentially completing everything. I mean, I can speak that you got a perfect score on the AP Lang exam. You had a 5, which is not very common. It was one of the lowest scored AP exams in a very long time. The average, do you know the average passing rate for the AP Lang exam last
Is it like
year?
a 30, 40 something? I'm not sure. I just know it's really
No,
low.
it's 54%, which was like extremely low. And yeah, so you beat a tremendous population that they're in the AP, they're in an advanced English course. So there's a lot of things that developed. I want to ask you, while sort of juggling all the tasks that you were doing, how did you kind of maintain a sense of resilience? Because tech isn't easy. I mean, tech is very much like a college. It's like college light, where you have majors, you have so many different responsibilities that seem like almost addendums to a regular high school experience. So how did you essentially keep yourself both grounded and also motivated to continue despite all of these multivarious obligations?
I think that I'd like to credit my peers for both being a force of like motivation and support. They like because everybody is so fantastic in different aspects and they all have their own individual talents. It really pushes you to not like strive to be better and not be in competition with them, but use them as a source of inspiration. And then at the same time, because you're in this environment with so many other kids and they understand the struggles that you're going through, it really helps to have a support system within the school and within like just people in general that you encounter often, which would be your students if you're young, right? I mean, your peers if you're young, and just like use them as a support system. You could be honest with them, and they'll like give you good, like they honestly will give you really good advice. Just even if you don't think it, because like everybody's like pretty much like oh hormonal or whatever because they're so young. I think it's, but I think your peers would be a great support system. I know people don't exactly have great relationships with the parents not all the time, so maybe like find a teacher that you can confide in, and I think just being able to like do some work and like articulate your thoughts clearly because I know that sometimes like a lot of working through what you're struggling with is just like being able to identify the issue.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like, because you think there's a problem, and some people I think they're content with just having like a very nebulous, blurry concept of what's bothering them, but they haven't really taken a moment to step back, take a deep breath, and really try and understand just for themselves what is the actual issue. Why are they not only what is the issue, but why are they letting it bother them so much? And I think that speaks volumes, being able to do that, especially when you're stressed, when like medium difficulties, when they pile up, you can just collapse on them or from them. So I think that makes sense. And so you're crediting your peers. You can name drop if you want, but can I name drop one?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, well, I mean, so I have the privilege of being, an adjunct at Hunter College, and one of the Brooklyn Tech students there, Claire, is a close friend of yours, and
Hmm.
during her project, she was like, "Yeah, I worked with Grace on this." I'm like, "Grace, like my student?" And she was like, "Yeah." And I was like, "What?" I'm not sure if that's allowed. She's like, "No, no, no. She's just a great person to work with because she's
Hmm.
challenging me. She'll tell me if I'm messing something up. She'll tell me very, very directly." And I was like, "That sounds like Grace." I feel like she would do that to me.
Hmm.
Should I mess up on anything? And
Hmm.
yeah, so I think that's an example of someone else sort of
Hmm.
following your advice, using you as the the peer that can sort of benefit them with their different perspective, their own sort of skills and unique intelligences, etc. Would you care to shout out anyone or any group of people that you felt amongst your cohorts that helped you out?
I think that during my junior year, it was really exemplified by two specific groups in two different classes. So the AP Lang class, so Arisha, Maggie, and Samya, I think they really helped me push myself. Like I remember, like we would work on all these AP Lang projects late at night, and they would really just like we'd be on FaceTime, and we'd be like, "Oh, I'm so tired, I'm so tired." But I guess like just the humor, like in like being able to find the humor in the situation, or like adding a component of humor to our academic work really pushed us to work harder and like be entertained and be happy to do the work. And then in my law section during my junior year, I had a group of friends. I think it was like 5 or 6 friends, and I just remember like taking constitutional law, which was such a hard class because you had to memorize like 50, 60 cases per test and just be able to recall them off the top of your head. Like I think that just having that support group, knowing that we're going through the same things, and then like being able to like quiz each other before exams, and like like having people we could go to when we're over caffeinated, and like them grounding me, it was really just something I'm truly grateful for, and I'll miss when I leave tech, or because I've left tech.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure you're going to have a community no matter where you go. You
Mhm.
strike me as someone who, no matter what, you won't be unknown, 100%, no matter where you are. And I say that as a very, very deep compliment. Like I
Mhm.
genuinely mean that. You're someone who is benevolently unavoidable. You know. um, so for the second group, the LAS, I mean, pardon,
Mhm.
the constitutional law, you said?
Yeah, it was the LX section.
Right. So did you use humor in to study for that as well?
Yes, but okay, I don't know if any of my teachers from the LAS sections will be listening to this podcast, but we had a group chat and it was called Stavola and Sobs. And basically, I just remember like the first time we ever bonded was during our first test, and it was like 50 something cases on, I don't even remember what at the time. I think it was like the Commerce Clause. And I just remember like I named the group chat still Bull and Sops because we were all like crying over the assignments, like crying over the exam, saying like, "There's no way I'm memorizing 50 to 60 cases. Like I'm gonna fail this class, etc., etc." And Claire actually typed in the group chat, um are we studying for the exam?" And I said, "Oh, we're not gonna study. We're gonna recite Latin prayers." And that really like not like I think the term would be trauma, not like exactly trauma bonded, but like just the moment, like having all these exams, like it really trauma bonded us together and just like enabled us to use each other, like, go to each other as resources, because there would be like some aspects of the exam where people like some aspects of the class people understood better than others. Like some people were good at like the constitutional test, or like remembering the constitutional cases, and just like we just got trauma bonded over like just in general like how difficult the tests were.
Claire in the psychology course at Hunter,
Hmm.
she did well on this particular part of sort of differentiating defense mechanisms from coping mechanisms. Defense mechanisms are like these subconscious, automatic responses, essentially to avoid self-knowledge or to avoid knowledge of something that's bothering you in a subconscious or sometimes conscious way. But coping mechanisms are a healthy and conscious way to deal with those things that are difficult. And I will say humor is one of the best ones where you're using humor to essentially coat the pill in sugar. and it makes things more palatable or digestible or whatever. If we're continuing the metaphor, anything that works in that vein, and it seems like that was something that you would do. And if I may, like, point to a specific thing that you and your squadron in the corner of my classroom did. Whenever one of the four of you were absent, do you remember what you would do?
We would draw like them and then we'd fold them up. So it was like a little just replacement of them on their table, on their desk.
And for me, that's so like emblematic of having like a very strong group that utilizes comedy to sort of handle things that you don't like. You don't like that your friend's not there because you have one less mind to work with on a collaborative project. So you would draw these silly pictures of them
It's
sitting
emotional support. It's emotional
there. Yeah,
support.
yeah, exactly. When I saw that, I was like, that's the best thing ever. Like, this is so interesting.
I think going off a similar thought, like going off that thought, like I remember like all those projects that you would give us and we would like stay up until midnight, or like the presentation specifically. We'd stay up until midnight, like finding our sources, writing our statements, and then I just remember like how we would always edit pictures of you into the presentations. I think that really helped too. Like it was probably one of the highlights of my junior year, just like having those stupid presentations to look back on and just knowing that like because we had that, like it just kept us going. Like there was a reason for us, like being up at midnight. Like it just added an aspect of humor.
It's very, I will say, it's very hard uh, to grade something when I'm staring directly at my own face inside of a cloud, inside of a pill or a capsule or a water bottle or whatever. It makes it a unique experience that I don't think my first master's in education prepared me for. There was nothing of that sort. So we've spoken about the past, we've spoken about the present. I want to know a little bit about your anticipations of the future. So you're going to my alma mater, Fordham, which is a top 100 school in the nation. They have a great law program. They have a great psychology program too. And I want to know what essentially are your expectations for the near future? What do you see on the horizon?
With the fact that Fordham is in New York City, there's so many opportunities, especially in politics and law. Like if you look to our current mayoral election that's happening in November, I like to get involved a little bit more in politics and see whether, like, because I'm getting a bachelor's in political science, I want to see like whether or not I would like to lean more towards the politics side of my like the degree I'm getting, or like maybe I want to go into higher education and get a law degree. But irrespective of whatever comes out, like I feel like because I was shaped by like my coming of age was shaped by the pandemic and just like all of the political movements that surround that era, and then now like 4 years later, it's like almost the same, like a similar thing happening with the current administration. I like to use my degree and see what I could do with it. Not even like impacting the world on a large scale, like even if it's a small scale, on a smaller scale project like the mayor election or just in general, like certain like criminal cases, I like to use that and use my education to do something along those lines.
That's awesome. I mean, I could definitely see you both in a courtroom and I guess advancing policy in a way that's, I think, would intimidate even heads of corporations or heads of state. I think you would, as long as you can harness everything into what you believe in and make sure that you're unintimidated, that there's, despite the various things in front of you, that you still are moving forward, which I don't think that latter part would be a problem. But I don't know if you've ever faced down a corporation before. It might be a little bit different than facing like an AP teacher or something of that sort. Your passions going into your junior year were also in the medical field. They're in a variety of subjects, and I think that when people say that they wanted to study one thing and then later they changed and then later they changed, I don't see that as a weakness at all or anything of the sort. I see that as someone who's continuously developing. And if someone has an interest in one field for 2-3 years and they genuinely have an interest, they're diving into it, and then they transition to something else. I see someone who has experience. Hold on, the police are coming.
They're after
Uh,
you.
I feel like they bring knowledge that most people who enter whatever field they enter won't have, because they'll have this. For example, you could combine law and medicine very clearly right now, especially with all the lawsuits and all the things post COVID and RFK and all these things happening. This seems to be a field that's going to be exploding over the next 2-3 years. So it's interesting to me that you can actually take some of the other focal points of your interests and merge them. And I think that should also be something in your mind, that law isn't like one thing. It's a gigantic umbrella that you can very much take advantage of. And I think will serve you very strongly, and you'll serve it strongly too. Are you are you nervous about anything going to your first like classes or anything like that? Or do you feel like surviving such a hyper competitive and massive school like Tech has already equipped you? I mean, Fordham's undergrad is like 9,600. That's basically one and a half Techs.
I think academically, I'm not as nervous because I've had that experience in such a hyper competitive environment like tech. But I think socially and just in general, like being able to navigate higher education, that's something that really makes me nervous because I'm a first generation student, and I'm also I have a younger brother. So like just being a role model for him and like trying to pave the way as
Mhm.
someone who doesn't really have that knowledge in like within my parents or just my community because I'm from an immigrant background. That's
Or an
something
older
I'm nervous
sibling
about.
that
Yeah.
you can talk to. Like I have an older sibling, and he was very
hmm
useful for. He's always
Yeah.
useful, but he was useful at that time period, definitely.
I think that makes me a little bit nervous, but I think that I look to my friends and a lot of them are also from immigrant backgrounds, and because we've done this before or like we've done something similar, I feel like I'm reassured. I still feel a little nervous, but I feel like I'm definitely reassured that I'll get through it and I'll be able to thrive in the school that I chose.
The last question I have for you is: do you have any sort of parting words or advice or guidance for? It could be, I guess, anyone at Tech, but like anyone transitioning from middle school to high school. Do you have any like words of advice or guidance or any sort of wisdom?
You one should get a really good schedule or a calendar system to like write down everything that you need to do. But I think in general just like life advice, there's a Latin phrase I recently learned. It's called memento mori, so remember you will die. And like on a less serious note, if you take that interpretation, like the interpretation I take from that would be like don't regret whatever you've done or you will be doing, and just remember like you only have one shot at this, and just because you don't like you don't end up where you want to go, or like you don't end up doing the things you want to do, it doesn't matter because life is like it's not a stagnant course in which oh you're just going from one destination to the next. Like it's meant to change, and if you don't end up where you want to go, at least the thing that you should take from it is that like you've ended up on the track right for you, no matter where that might be, no matter how different it might be from your original starting point.
Awesome, awesome. And speaking of wisdom and Latin and all of these things, this actually goes well with the motto of Fordham, which is "Sapi."
Mhm.
Do you know it or no?
I'm not sure, but I think it's on my Fordham hoodie.
It's "Sapientia et Doctrina," or "Doctrina," which is basically wisdom and learning. And I think that kind of puts this all together. You have these experiences that are social, that are difficult, that are stressful, that are family based, that are whatever sort of based, and no matter what, you're sort of reflecting on it, you're absorbing it, you're taking what lessons you can, and you're moving forward. And then you have the sort of the intersection of learning and experience, which becomes wisdom.
Absolutely.
Well, again, thank you so much, Grace, for doing this. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.